Hey everyone, my name is Giovanni, and in this video I will show you how I handle routing and navigation in a React.js application. This is a very important step for all apps since it's extremely important to control the routes users will have access. And I will show you a way that will leave your app very well organized. I'm assuming you already have a React application configured. If not, you can use Create React tab from Facebook. That's what I did here. I just cleaned up a little bit and I have the index.js file here. It has absolutely nothing special in this file, it's just calling the app component. And my app component is again very simple, it's just returning an h1 tag. I'm running this application here at localhost port 3000, you can check here. And I also have 3 pages that I created here, but as you will see, they're just returning h1 tags as well. So I have the dashboard and I also have sign in and sign up pages. This will be perfect for us to understand how the routing works. So what we want to do, we want the user to be able to come here and type, for example, dashboard, and to be redirected for the dashboard page. And that's not what's happening now. As you can see, independent, this is having no effects, and we are just always returning that, and that's expected because that's what it's doing. So let's start. To handle the navigation, we will use a library called React Router Done. Just install in here. Perfect. Now that we have React Router Done installed, we will create a folder here and we will call it routes. And inside this folder, we'll have a file called index.js, and we will control the routes inside this file. First thing we're going to do, we're going to import React from React here, and we will need 2 components from React Router Done. They are called switch and route. Now we're gonna export the default function called routes, and it will have a switch around our routes. Now we're gonna have the route here. This route needs a path. We'll say the path is slash, and we'll export the component called signing. That's what we want. But we do not have the signing component here, so let's import it. So sign in from pages slash sign in. Save. And so we're gonna first of all import the router from React Router Done, and we're gonna import the routes from routes. Great. Now we do not want to return this h1 tag here. I just placed it here to exemplificate. But what we're gonna do is import a router to export the router with our routes. Perfect. Let's check what will happen. If we open the browser, we will have an error. And why is this error happening? Because for React Router Done to work, we need a library called history. So let's add it here. Yarn add history. History will be used by React Router Done to redirect the user in our app programmatically. So now that we have installed history, we can come here and create a new folder. We'll call it services. And inside services, we will create the history.js file. In this file, we will need to import a function from history. And this function is create browser history. Now let's add this one to a variable called history. We'll call it here, and we'll just export by default. Great. Now history is configured. I can close it here, go back for app, and let's import history from services. And we need to add it to router. Now let's save and let's go back to browser and see what happened. And okay, we have the sign here. Now let's add another route. Let's go back for the routes component and add a new route, and the path here will be /register, and our component will be sign up. Great. Let's import sign up from pages sign up. Now if we go back to the browser and type register here, we should be redirected to sign up, right? And let's check. Oops, it didn't work. And I will show you why. That's because the way the switch component works, it checks for the start of the strings that we pass here on path. And if it finds a match, it enters. So in this case, look at the path that we passed here. It starts with slash. And what will happen, it will go here and find a slash, and it will return the sign component. So in this case, any of the other components that we place here will work. And to fix this, we need to pass a prop here called exact. And that means that it will only return this first route if the route is exactly as it's placed here on path. Now if we go back, oh, look what happened here. Now we have the sign up. So if we go signing and I go back to register. Perfect. But what happens if we type a route that does not exist? For example, dashboard. We have nothing, and this is not what we want. So we do not want to let the user with a blank page in front of him. So let's fix this, returning the user to a known page. For example, the signing page. What you're gonna do here, we're gonna create a new route, and we do not need to specify the path, and let's just return a component here. It will be signing page. And this is another trick for the switch component. So if it does not find the route specified by a path, it will return this last one by default. Now let's check what happens in the browser. Signing page and register. And if I go for a route does not exist, like register to, we will be redirected to signing page. Now let's add the dashboard route. But in this case, we want this route to be only accessible by logged in users. So dashboard, and the component will be dashboard like we did with the others. Let's import. Now let's check what happens. If I type here dashboard, I'm redirected to dashboard. But this is not what we want. We just want users to access the dashboard route if he is authenticated in our app. And how can we solve this problem? I mean, with the tools that we have here, this is not enough for what we want. So we need to create our own route component in order to implement the logic to check if the user is logged in or not. So let's create a new file here. We'll call it route.js, and this guy will be a React component. Let's import React from React, and we will need two things from React router down here. We will need the route and the redirect components. These guys will come from React router down. Good. Now let's export a default function that we'll call route wrapper. Our component needs to receive three things. Let's wrap here. First thing we need to pass to our component is a prop called component that will be a React component. Second thing is a prop called isPrivate. This prop will be a boolean that will determine if the user is logged in or not. And we will just use the spread operator here to pass the other parameters from our routes. So we do not need to specify them, let's just pass to the children. So now let's start with the logic. First of all, we need to control if the user is logged in or not. So let's create a variable here. We'll call it signed. And by default, I'll leave it as false. Okay, so this variable will determine if the user is or not signed into our application. Let's start with the first case. That will be if the route is private and the user is not logged in. So that's exactly what we're going to implement here. So if the route is private and the user is not signed, what we want to do, we want to return the redirect component, sending the user back to signing page that we assigned it with the slash. Great. Now, the second case is when the route is public and the user is logged in. Okay, so in a case like that, let's say for example that we have the sign-in page and the user is already logged in. So we do not want to let users make a login again. So it does not make sense, it's already logged in. So in this case, if the route is not private and the user is already signed, we can redirect it directly to inside our app. So let's return it with redirect to, in our case here, will be the dashboard page. Great. And if not included on previous cases, we will just return a route from React Prototype, same route we used before, and we'll pass all parameters to this route and the component it will need to render. And this component, it will be the component that we receive as a parameter. Great. We are almost done. We will need to specify the prop types for this component. So let's add prop types. And while it's installing, we will import prop types from prop types lib. Okay, and we just need to specify here. We have route wrapper dot prop types. Specify it's private. This guy here will be a prop types dot bool, and it will not be required. And we have the component. This guy will be the prop types, and it can be one of two types that are prop types dot element, or it can also be a prop types dot func. There are both ways that we can pass the React component, and this one is required. And to finish, we need to define the route wrapper dot default props, and the only one that is not required is private, and the default value, let's say that it's false by default. We save here, and to finish, we need to go back to our index, to our routes, and we do not need to use the route from React router DOM. We will use our own route component that we will import from route. Now the last change that we need to make is to specify which routes are private. In our case, dashboard. So dashboard is private. Good. Now let's check at the browser. We have the signing page here as expected, and we can also go for the register route. Okay, sign up here. Now let's try to access a private one. That's the dashboard, for example. And what happens? Oh, we redirected to signing. And why that happens? Let's go back to our route, and if we check here, signed is by default false. Let's change this variable to true and see what happens. Oh, now we can access the dashboard. And if we try to go back to signing page, let's check what happens. We are redirected to dashboard. Same thing will happen if we try to access register. Good, that's what we want. And you may be asking yourselves, how can we change this programmatically? And the answer is with a thing called Redux. This tutorial will not cover this part. I will make another video explaining how you can programmatically change this variable here, and by doing this you will have a lot of flexibility controlling your routes. So that's it for this tutorial. If you follow all these steps, you will have a very modular code that can be extended easily if you keep using the same pattern. Please note that authentication is still manual, and we will cover this part in a future video as I mentioned before. You can check the full implementation of this thing here on Code Sandbox. I wrote an article for Medium for this tutorial. You can check it here. I will place the link on the description. Everything that we did here is detailed on the article. You can follow, and at the end you will find a Code Sandbox implementation for everything that we did. So you can just fork and copy all the code or change in your browser. It's a very good tool to understand better what we did here. Well, this was my first video for YouTube, and I hope to produce more videos, and more important, I hope that they can help you with your projects. So thank you very much for watching, and see you soon.